We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Business Matters presented by Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union, where we delve into the stories and insights of leaders and change makers in our community. I'm your host, Rob Capello, and today we're joined by Jeffrey Schoon, Wealth Advisor at Valley First. Jeffrey, thanks for joining me this morning.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure.
No problem. So I'm sure many of us are listening probably have asked the question to ourselves, how much do I need to retire? And well, the answer is going to be different for everyone, obviously. So we hope today to answer some of those questions and maybe just get you thinking about what kind of lifestyle you want in retirement, because obviously that's going to make a big difference on how much you're going to need. But before we do, I'm curious, Jeffrey, we just chat a little bit about I'm curious what you're hearing, sensing, how are things are going with members right now. I know there's a lot of I want to say uncertainty going on in the economy. I'm just curious what you're hearing and sensing from members right now.
Yeah, I think uncertainty is probably an understatement right now. If we go back kind of just over the last 4 years or so, lots going on kind of in the economy at a national level, policy kind of stuff. But then, of course, we're looking at how that trickles down and impacts, the regular folks, you and I, and everybody listening. And I think when people are planning, uncertainty is, it provides a little level of confusion and worry and am I doing things right? Am I planning properly? And when we're thinking about retirement planning and other types of financial planning, I think a lot of it is about removing some of that uncertainty, some of that unknown. That peace of mind that comes with a plan is really important.
Interesting. So I'm curious, Jeffrey, what's your role as wealth advisor at Tail? What sort of day-to-day how do you work with your members?
Yeah, so on a day-to-day level, it's really about, we do a lot of the investment management side of things in the wealth advisor role. But I think more importantly than that is the financial planning that comes around with it. And so with our members at Valley First and those that are coming to see us, it's about focusing on the financial plan first. Understanding someone's goals, needs, worries, their current financial position, what they're looking to accomplish. And then it's only once we understand that and we can create that financial plan, then we get into, the investment management side of things and how do we actually implement this plan. But yeah, definitely those two things would be the big focus of the day-to-day part of the job.
That's great. And how long have you been at Valley First?
We're coming up on 6 years here
Oh,
now.
okay.
Yeah.
Worn a couple different hats in your roles there, or you've been sort of in the wealth advisor sort of role for a while?
Started out in the senior financial advisor role. And so you definitely get a lot of crossover. But when you're thinking about a financial advisor, usually there's a little bit more as far as, some of the lending, some of the day-to-day banking, things like that. In the wealth advisor role, a little bit more focused on the investment side of things.
I'm always curious too, is what got you into sort of banking? Like where it was that out of school? Like what got you into sort of the industry?
Yeah, a little bit by accident. I think that's how a lot of people land in a career. I started out with one of the big banks, and it was my family was banking with them. I had finished up school, and like a lot of people, didn't really know what I was going to do next.
Yeah.
And we were around the bank one day and chatting with some people there, and they kind of asked, "Yeah, hey, you're done school. What are you planning on doing?" And I don't know. Well, why don't you come for us? And as they say, the rest is history.
Interesting. So, thanks for that. Let's talk about retirement. It's kind of what we're here to talk about, obviously. So, I'm curious, like, why do you think that question that I said it when I started is how much do I need to retire? Why do you think that's such an important question for people? And it's kind of the first thing that comes to mind when people think retirement.
Yeah, there's a few key things there, but I think when we look at more the kind of the personal side of things, we talked about the uncertainty, we talked about the worry, and retirement is a big uncertainty. What's that going to look like? And in this day, people are of course living longer and longer.
Yeah.
Retirement might represent, one third of their life, and if you're not working, you don't you're accustomed to that every 2 weeks or once a month paycheck, and now you're switching. You're maybe getting some pension, government pension, private pension, some personal savings, other things, but it's a lot more uncertain where that income is coming from.
Right.
And then I think on top of that, people have a vision of what retirement might look like.
Yeah.
And maybe that's a vision they've created themselves. Maybe they see the people around them, see their parents, how they retired. And so, yeah, it's about realizing that vision that people have for retirement.
Interesting. We see all the stuff on social media, how amazing it is in retirement. So we think it's going to be like that sometimes. But what consideration, like what should people think about when they're figuring out how much they might need to save for retirement? And I know it's different for everybody. I'm sure it's not, but there's maybe some key things that people can actually considerations they can think of.
Yeah, absolutely. And yeah, I know there's numbers floating around out there, which I always get a chuckle out of. But as you say, it's different for everybody. And so, there's some kind of quick hitters off the top. Are you married? Are you single? A little bit around life expectancy and health, which is always tricky. A lot of speculation there. We talked about those sources of income. So someone with a really strong pension plan probably doesn't need as much as someone without a pension plan. When do you want to retire? Of course, we have Freedom 55. Is that still a thing? Play a big role in it. Some people don't want to retire. Some people, really enjoy what they're doing, and they don't want to. So there's a number of kind of those types of things. But then when we get into the specifics of the finances, really what we're diving into is cost of lifestyle.
Yeah.
So not just the day-to-day, which of course is very important, but also, bigger items. You've retired. You've probably found that you've got a little bit more time on your hands. Are you looking to take vacations? Are you the type of person to upgrade your car every few years? We think here in Kelowna, where do you want to retire? We know Kelowna is very expensive. Of course, we've got, Vancouver, Toronto, other places that are very expensive. And so, deciding where you want to retire. And then we get into the specifics too of, how you can store income in other assets, whether or not you own a property or not. Do you plan to downsize right away on retirement, or do you want to stay in your place as long as you can? Might determine sort of what level of income you can draw out of that type of asset. So yeah, exactly as you say, there's a lot of different things involved, but I think the first step is really understanding your lifestyle cost. And I would hazard a guess that a lot of people don't know that answer. And so, even if you're a long ways out from retirement, I would challenge people to just pull up their bank account statement, pull out the credit card statement, grab a few months and just start to add it up and really get an idea of what your lifestyle cost is, because that'll go a long ways in determining how much you need to save.
Interesting. Is there danger in someone obsessing over a specific number they have to save though? Like, I would think there is, but I mean, you see it more than I do. So are there dangers around obsessing, sort of just trying to get to a certain number?
Absolutely. And you can really obsess over it. And when I'm looking at financial planning, yeah, it's about the numbers and the academics, and and we can make some recommendations based off of your typical investor profile. But everybody is different, and so there's that risk of getting into a little bit of the keep up with the Joneses sort of scenario. And you don't know, your neighbor with the expensive truck in the driveway. You don't know if they paid cash for it or financed it.
Yeah.
Someone's house, you don't know how much borrowing they have on it. And so we see those around us, and we want to match that lifestyle. But it's such an individual thing that I think that can really sort of torment you, so to speak, from a mental health perspective. And then when you're actually getting into the planning side of things, you can end up in a scenario where maybe you're taking on too much risk or not enough risk to achieve your goals because you're just focused on that number. Whereas, we want to make sure that we take a suitable level of risk that fits with someone's investor profile, that fits with their end retirement needs. And so, when we're making recommendations, it's not just about, is someone taking on enough risk for their returns, but the other way around. If someone doesn't need to take risk, then we'd support that as well. That we don't want to take undue risk, and so that's where focusing on sort of whatever that generic number is out there can definitely lead someone astray.
I'm curious, you talk to a lot of people or a lot of your members about retirement, you're working with them. Have you uncovered any sort of like interesting insights or anything you've seen talking to members over the past few years on retirement?
Yeah, the big thing in your financial side of things is really a tool to help you achieve that retirement you're looking for. And so, as we were saying before, people are, their retirement years are a lot longer than maybe they once were. And so what I found in talking to people and even talking to family and friends is there's a big change when you go from working and into retirement. It's you go to work, you've got maybe set times you're at work, there's structure, someone is telling you what to do, you have goals, and that can really keep you motivated. Now you flip into retirement, you're kind of setting your own schedule, you're deciding what you want to do every day. And that's hard. That's a really big adjustment for people. That slow down potentially. So for me, then, in seeing how everybody carries a different lifestyle in retirement, the big thing then that I'm focusing on is how do we use financial planning as a tool to accomplish those goals in retirement, whatever they might look like.
Right. Interesting. So what about the younger generation? I'm curious, like for those that are a little bit younger, what advice would you share with them to start maybe saving for a plan for retirement earlier? Like what, and I know they're probably not thinking about it at a younger age, but what's some advice maybe you have for the younger generation?
Our parents' advice still holds true to this day. It's about start early, start small. So for most people, that means, just setting up a regular automatic contribution. Lots of people have programs through their work, maybe group RSPs and things like that. But whether it's doing something like, $25 a paycheck, something that's small enough that you probably won't even notice that it's gone. And then, when you get that promotion, when you get that raise, when you come into a little bit of unexpected money, it's about bumping that up a little bit each time, so that when you do get those raises, it's not all going to lifestyle, that you're finding the right balance. And then the other big piece that I especially focus on with younger people, they'll have a lot of other goals other than just retirement. And retirement can seem a long ways off when you're trying to buy a house, when you're establishing your career, when you're buying a vehicle, when you're having kids. And so I really focus on separating out those goals. A lot of times when we start out, we're saving in one bucket. And, we'll call it the retirement bucket, but it's really, you're pulling out of that bucket when it's time to buy the house. You're pulling out of that bucket when it's time to go on vacation, buy the car, all those things. And, 30, 40 years down the road, this retirement account, your retirement plan,
Yeah.
there's nothing there. And so, yeah, so the focus really is how do we split out these goals? How do we save for them separately to make sure that each goal on its own is on track?
Well, I think there's something to be said around like balancing living for today and then saving for tomorrow as well, right? I mean, you still like there's if you're younger, there are things like you said, there's there's a house you might want to buy, kids go to school, like so you need to balance a little bit. But I love how you said like it's the small things, right? Start at $25 a paycheck, like start at $50. You don't have to conquer it all at once, sort of thing. So I love that's good advice to kind of on a small bit. But I'm curious, this is always something I think about now with there's a lot of sort of like, I don't know, we want to call it financial technology out there, like AI advisors, and like you see all this stuff. I mentioned social media. I'm curious, do you see any of this stuff come up in discussion with members? And do you feel like it's hurt people planning because they're seeing things that are maybe unrealistic? Like, do you counter any of that stuff? Because I see it all over social media, being in the industry we're in, I see it all over the place. But what's your thought from a wealth advisor point of view on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I see it lots. And I really encourage my members that if they see stuff out there, they're hearing something from a friend, they watched a video on YouTube, uh, bring those questions to me. Let's chat about them. There's lots of great advice out there, and there's probably some not so great advice. And so, how do we distinguish between the two? And then, take some of those ideas that are out there and then actually personalize them to someone's situation. I think is really important. And you know what? Just like everything we see out there, a healthy bit of skepticism is probably a good thing. Challenging and questioning what you're seeing is always important.
Well, I think it's important. I think that leads to sort of like personal finance education, right? Really understanding. I think that's the value. I've talked to so many people on your guys' team, and I think that's a real strength for Valley First is that you guys can really offer that education side to your members, right? Like, so you're not on an island by yourself with a wealth advisor. You have a team that you can bring in. So I think that's the being able, if you have questions, to come in and talk to yourself, and if you can't answer it, you have someone on your team that you can bring in about estate planning, whatever it may be. And I think there's a real value of just personally educating yourself and really understanding your finances, right? So
Absolutely, they say knowledge is power, right? And the biggest thing that is really rewarding in my job is someone comes into my office. They're nervous almost. It's like going to the doctor, and what are they going to tell me? What have I been doing wrong? Or going to the dentist? No, I haven't been flossing the last year. And, but when we can sit down and we can have that open conversation, we can, maybe challenge some of the things that are causing worry and fear, and set up a plan that can ease some of that. So the biggest thing, when someone's walking out of my office and just to hear, I learned a lot today, that makes me feel so much better. It's pretty powerful stuff.
That's great. So we tried to cover as much as we could today on our call, but people might have some more questions around just figuring out their retirement plan. Like, so how can someone get more information or help figuring this out? What's the best way for them to do that?
So working with a trusted advisor is crucial. And you kind of even mentioned a little bit there about, AI and online and other investing. And those are great options and programs, but especially if you're getting started out and you're building that plan out for the first time, working with an advisor, going through the process, really understanding kind of where you're at right now, where you want to go. And lots of places, of course, Valley First for sure. We'll do that financial planning. There's no charge, there's no obligation. It's about getting our members the information that they need to thrive.
Yeah, and I think that's excellent. I encourage people all the time to reach out to you guys because you're, and as we wrap up, I think what you need for retirement and what retirement looks like is so different for everybody, right? So I encourage people to reach out to yourself or your team members because that's what you guys are there to do. So, Jeffrey, thank you so much. You've shared some great tidbits for people today. So thank you so much for joining me today and discussing retirement.
Yeah, thanks so much, Rob. And yeah, always happy to do it.
Awesome. So if you enjoyed today's episode, we encourage you to please review and share the podcast. We can get the word out. And until next time, thank you for tuning into Business Matters and have a great day. Thanks, Jeffrey. Take care. Bye.
Yeah, you too. Bye.
We would like to thank your sponsor, Valley First, a division of First West Credit Union and a member-owned financial cooperative serving the Okanagan, Similkameen, and Thompson regions. They offer a wide range of banking and investment services for individuals and families. Valley First also has a talented business and commercial team to provide the expertise, products, and services local businesses need to grow and thrive.